Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Now, you're not going to like this, but I'm going to take those spikes off, and there's a very good reason. The plant's dying and it's quite a rapid change. These bulbs are rotten, they are soft-ish. Unfortunately we've got a firm one which is a long way from this section. I cut those two off, this one's going to come off as well. But the leaves are failing. There's all sorts of things going wrong on this plant. Desiccated bulbs. The latest growth has got 2 spikes on it, but the growth itself has got no strength. And you sort of, why has that suddenly gone down then? Well, that could be part of the reason. Trying to find out what those are. Now, I'm not sure whether they're jumping or flying. I think they're jumping. If they're jumping, they're probably springtails, which don't do too well in the water. Now, if they're not springtails and they are capable of flying, then they could be thrips. I don't know what they are, but the fact that they are underneath the pot, they're in the pot, they're in the medium, which may or may not be the reasoning behind what's going wrong. I'm just studying the medium at the moment and I can see movement on it, so I think they're in the media. But whatever they are, they're not supposed to be here. Now, if they're springtails, they don't do any harm. There's lots of different types of springtails as well. But I still don't like them on my orchids, basically. So this is an emergency. I'm going to take this out of the pot, which I hate doing with zygos because their roots are so sensitive and fragile. But what I will probably do is, well, let's film it. Okay, this is my new tray that I got because I haven't got room in the kitchen to do, like, you know, all the repotting and mounting traditionally was done as kitchen time in the actual kitchen. This kitchen doesn't lend itself to doing that, so I'm going to revert to using this. So I thought I'd better get a decent tray with sides on it so that we don't make a mess all over the floor, seeing as it's not my floor. Right, chances of success here I would suggest are close to 0. Now, what's happened to this recently? It's got a tag on it, hasn't it? That means it's been to a show. So it's been out of here, out of its environment, been wobbled around in the car, poked and prodded, and that may well be what's taken it down. But there's not enough life in this plant to support these spikes for a start. So we will get the stake out. Find somewhere to throw that on the floor for now, and then we will see what's in the pot. I suspect the roots have failed. The fact that it's wobbling around like this, I don't think it's got any roots. Now, what's happened to this is it was climbing out of the pot, and so what I did was I gently teased it out of its pot and put it in a new pot with new media around the outside without touching the roots, and the roots have failed. But right in the centre of the plant are some good roots. Not many, but some. And this latest growth has some new roots coming off of it. So it might be savable. I say might. I'm only good with these things when they're nice and healthy. It's taken me long enough to stop killing them, and maybe this is a reversion. So first thing, spikes off. Plant's not capable of supporting them. You can see now the little tiny growth that those 2 spikes were hanging off of. It's minimal, and it's going to have to swell up and grow on. The next problem we've got is these 2 bulbs that are starting to go soggy. They have got to be removed. And unfortunately, that means that bulb's going to come off as well. Right, so these 2 I want to cut off because I want a clean cut there, without taking any roots off, hopefully. Ouch, pinching finger in the scissors. That root's viable. I'm not sure whether these are. I think they are. But you know, the idea of minimal contact with the roots. I'm not playing with them. I'm just going to use what I've got. I'm not trimming. I'm not doing anything. There's not much else I can do with that apart from plant it up. And I'll have to plant it at a slight angle so that these roots on this new growth are capable of getting into the media and growing on, which they may or may not do. They may or may not do. Right, so that's that piece. Now what about this bulb on its own here? So all the roots are tangled up. There's a couple of roots on that bulb that are viable. Do you know, I think, you know, I might try what some would say is the impossible and actually get a back bulb on a zygo to grow. But I'm going to have to, if I try and untangle this, I'm going to damage these roots, so I'm going to trim them. They will branch. And then once I get the main tangle off, we'll see what we've got left. It's only a back bulb, it's not like it's growing at the moment. Some of these roots are firm, but not all of them. We'll take off those that aren't. We should leave some. That end of it anyway. Nope. Definitely no. So what does that leave then? Right, this big one in the middle. Parts of it are, parts of it aren't. What's left is firm. Main. Now I don't know what's going to happen here. You know, it's a slightly desiccated bulb, but it's still got some firmness to it. It has a leaf that is green, so it's capable of photosynthesizing, and it has certainly enough roots to maintain that bulb pending a new growth out the side, should we be capable of getting one. There's a thought. Growing a zygo from a back bulb. Well, in this environment that's unheard of, and I wouldn't normally dream of attempting it. So that's cleaned up, I'm happy with that. Whether we can get, there's no sign of an eye on it, but that doesn't matter. Back bulbs don't need an eye. They will form a new growth if they have the capability of surviving. So I'm not going to put that in with the other plant. I'm going to keep it separate. And I now need, see now look, what do you need for that plant to be successful? If I bend the roots, they'll probably snap. Yeah? If I mess about with them too much, they'll fail. So I've got to get that in a pot. Bull by the horns. I need it in a small pot or smallish pot. I'm going to take that root off. And most will say that was a silly thing to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. On the grounds I can now get that in a sensible sized pot with these roots nicely in the media and this bulb touching the media. What I will do with this bulb is take the sheaths off. The reason being, it'll get moisture around the base. And moisture around the base may well encourage some new roots to form, and then they'll get straight down in the media, in addition to the ones it's already got. That's the theory. So there we go, that's what we're left with. Not much, and we've lost the blooms. I wonder if they'd last a while if I put them in some water. I suppose so. Let's give them a clean cut. We'll try putting those in some water. Not sure it's worth doing that one. This was the first one to open and already the first bloom's going. We'll take the first two off because they're going to be the first two to go. And we'll stand those in some water and see if they'll actually survive for a while. They can come and sit in by the computer. Right, now unfortunately I don't have pots and I don't have media. This is a serious problem with working the way I am at the moment because I've got to go right round the house and down to the shed and all the way back again, and I don't even know what size pot I want. Normally my pots are just inside the door in the old place and I could just go and get them, which I can't do now. Well, I'm going to reuse that media, quite honestly. And if that's got the little bugs in it, there's a quick way to get rid of them, isn't there? It involves the kettle. So we'll do that. This media is not old. I'm not prepared to sacrifice it. There's nothing wrong with this media, apart from the fact it might have those bugs in it. So I'm going to maintain that media. That also means I don't have to go down to the shed for media. But I might have to go down for pots. It depends what I've got under here. What have I got? I've got black pots. Got plenty of those. And we've got our new pots that we bought. I'm going to use one of those. So that's a use for one of them. And the back bowl can just go in a black pot. Job done. Right, so as is traditional, we clear up the mess and I'll be back. Okay, I zoomed in a bit because some people have actually complained they can't really see what I'm doing because the camera's too far away. Trouble is I can't get it too close, otherwise there's too little of what I'm doing actually on camera, if you see what I mean. There's a balance there somewhere. Now this media is just about cooled off. It's amazing what you can do with boiling water. Now the crocking that was in the bottom of the original pot is the large chunky bark. Well, I can pick that out and reuse that, so we've automatically got our crocking sorted out. That'll do. Otherwise right, so we'll put a little bit of the cocoa husk in the bottom, just to give it something to start. And then, I don't know whether this plant's going to stand up on its own, but I'm going to have to move these roots to get it in the pot. One of them's already broken, and if it's broken it just as well come off, because it will go, and then maybe it will branch out. That one on its side without breaking it, and the rest of the plant sitting on the side of the pot like that, and the new roots on the new growth there. So literally all I'm going to do now is top that up. We won't be doing any pressing down. Oops. Giant piece there. We'll break that up in a minute. Oh, another giant piece. That's the same piece. Right. Well, we don't do any serious pressing down with Zygos. The roots are very fragile, but it's got to be firm enough to stand upright. So I'm just going around the outside of the pot, trying to get some firmness. And whether this is going to work or not, I really don't know. Have I got anything I can stake that with? That would be big enough. I just need to put a point on it. That's the trouble, I haven't got all my tools nearby like I used to have. Just cut the edge off of that. It's just to give it an edge so that it will go down in nicely. And the idea is I'm just going to put a clip around the old bulb. Hopefully that will hold it still. Use the one I had before. Now it's pulled the stake's pulled over already, it's not firm enough. If the stake's not firm, there's no point in having it. It needs to go down into those chunky bits and stay still. It's the trouble with shallow pots. I think that does it, sort of. We'll see how that does. I mean, it's not going to get handled much because with so few roots, I'm just going to put a little bit of topping loosely over those roots, keep them hydrated. So we've got the base of the plant in media, all the roots are covered and it's staked. It's not exactly firm, but it's firm enough because the media is very wet, having had boiling water poured all over it. Sorry, it has cooled off. So this is now going to go out of the bright light and it's going to go up behind me in that place there, which is mainly the cooler, shadier type plants that don't get watered as often. So this won't need to be moved for some time, it can just sit there and then hopefully the roots will start to do something, and this growth, now it's had its spikes removed, might begin to actually grow and swell up. We've got green leaves, we do have some green leaves, so the plant can feed itself, just about. Not much plant left, it don't need a lot of food, does it? Right, so that's that one, I'll put that to one side. And then for the first time ever, I'm going to have a go at getting a back bulb to grow. Chances of success with this, I'd say, are even less than the other one. I'm just going to put some big stuff in the bottom. This plant's going in deep. It's, hopefully it'll be self-supporting then. But what it will need is moisture around the base of it. So it's all very well putting big stuff in the bottom, but then I need some small stuff that's going to stay moist. Do you know what? I'm going to mix some moss in with this. Not much, just some. It'll help keep it moist longer. Oh. So I'm just going to mix a bit of moss in. And that will be the basis for sitting the plant on. Live moss obviously, not dead stuff, no zombie stuff now. That stuff's gone. I mean, of the last lot that I had, that I actually owned, I gave to Lynn, because she uses a lot more of that. You know, it's mainly Masdevallias Draculas anyway. And the idea is to just gently spread those roots and lean the bulb up against the side of the pot. So it should be virtually self-supporting. And then we're just going to loosely plonk some smaller stuff in and around. And we'll see what that does. Maybe the moisture around the base of the plant will induce a growth. Maybe not. We shall see. Now again, that's not going to need watering hardly at all. Literally hardly at all. We'll see what happens. It could still do with being clipped in some shape or form to hold it. I wonder if I've got, let's see what we've got. Let's see what we've got. So I haven't got any stakes. Would a clip hold it onto the rim of the pot? Make that for an idea. Sort of like that. It's actually got that, believe it or not. Yay, that's worked quite well. So we've got our roots as they are, not very good, but they're actually firm, so they're, you know, capable of keeping the bulb hydrated, and potentially it might grow, and it might not. As I said, I've not tried back bulbs before. It's something I'm not really interested in because they take so long to get up to flowering size. That would probably need at least 2 strong growths for the third one to be able to and be allowed to bloom. So you're looking at 2 to 3 years minimum, and that's if it works. Now sometimes I've heard with Cymbidium back bulbs, which are quite successful, tatty looking things that have got no sign of life on them are capable of shooting out, but they can spend 6 months doing nothing before they shoot out, and then that growth's got a year to mature before it even starts putting the second one out. So you're a long way away from blooming. A lot of people sort of think, but it's free and it's just sitting in the corner, it's not costing me anything, and it's not costing me a lot of work either. That makes sense, yeah? I've never had the patience, but we'll see what we can do. If I can get a zygo back bulb to actually, you know, grow and bloom, I'll be over the moon, because I've not had a lot of success with these blighters. So I'm just going to put that moss in there. It's not much good sitting there, is it? Sit it on top of there. Right, so that's an attempt to rescue. See, now last time I looked at that plant wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. So those two bulbs have gone downhill quite quickly, so that's some sort of bacterial problem. And that can happen anytime, quite honestly. That can happen on a perfectly healthy plant. You don't need a poor quality or failing plant for that to happen. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That's all I can do. And see you next time. Thanks for dropping by. Oh, in this idea of with videos continuing, so people who want to watch another one and don't necessarily want to go and look for one, as this is a zygo based video, I'll put an end clip up of one of my other zygo videos, perhaps a repotting video of a larger plant or something like that. So there'll be a video to watch on the end of this one if you want to continue watching something. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.